Not so fast, Blue Jay fans. Bichette came out yesterday and was adamant that he wanted to stay in Toronto, win in Toronto, and play with Vladdy for the rest of their careers. But today, a notable reporter came out and called him out on that. He said he's bluffing, and he called him out on that bluff, so I'll break it down and much more in this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. What's up, everybody? Welcome into 3 Up, 3 Down. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, and there's no doubt that this has been a season from hell for the Toronto Blue Jays. However, Bichette came out yesterday and basically eased a little bit of the tension between himself and the fan base. There was a lot of criticism thrown his way from myself as well, just watching him go about his business and being sort of disinterested, looking like he didn't want to be there on a daily basis, and the numbers showed that, okay? So let me just take a look at the numbers here. Like, you could see his season is nowhere near the other years that he put up since coming into the league. But it feels like a bit of an anomaly. 3 stints on the injured list, just never really able to get right, and the team didn't do well. He was a big part of the reason why they didn't do well, but at the same time, he didn't really have much help around him. So I'm going to give him a pass for this season, but there were questions surrounding his character and just the fact that he did not want to be a Toronto Blue Jay. But he came out yesterday and he had this to say: my ultimate goal really is to play with Vladdy forever, to win a championship with him, and to do that with this organization. So that was Bichette talking about his future with the Toronto Blue Jays. And then you see here, Bichette has voiced his desire to remain with the Blue Jays beyond the 2025 season. Of course, we know that he's going to be a free agent after next year, and the Blue Jays were floating around the idea of maybe trading him at this year's deadline. It didn't come to fruition because he was hurt, and it would not have made sense for a team to give up all those assets to get a player that was not going to contribute for them this season. So then the next report that came out was, okay, now they shift their focus off to the winter. They're going to try and get a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension done, and then the next order of business is going to be to trade Bichette and recoup some assets for a player that is disgruntled and does no longer want to be a part of your organization. So that was the second part. So you see here, positive, right? Ultimate goal is to play with Vladdy forever, to win a championship with him, and to do that with this organization. That's a good thing if you're a Blue Jays fan. Well, a notable ESPN reporter says, not so fast. ESPN baseball insider Buster Olney isn't buying Toronto Blue Jays shortstop Bichette's new comments on being committed long-term to the franchise. The two-time All-Star is due to become a free agent after the 2025 season and told Sportsnet's Shai Davidi that his career goal is to play and win a championship with Vladdy Jr. in Toronto. I find the timing to be very interesting, which is why I'm more believing it's fraudulent, Olney told First Up on TSN 1050 radio. It's important for me to be absolutely fair about this. I haven't spoken to Bo, so I don't know exactly what he's thinking. It's at the end of what has been a terrible season for him, a terrible season for the Blue Jays, and there's a part of me that if I'm working in the Blue Jays front office, I'm going to call your bluff. Bichette, 26, was involved in rumors leading up to the trade deadline, but ultimately remained with the team. Now, Bichette's comments reminded me of when Guerrero came out in New York and said, "I'd never want to play here," and he walked that back, Olney said. I think if you're Bichette, you're his agent, you're going to want to keep everything in play. And this is a very interesting tidbit of news from Buster Olney here. Now, he does preface it by saying that he has not spoken to Bichette personally, so you got to take those comments with a grain of salt, but as an agent, you're going to advise your client to do the best that they can to keep all doors open, to be able to get the most amount of money in free agency, whether it's with the team that you're with now, whether it's with another team that is going to be willing to bid for your services. And Bo is going to have no shortage of bidders once free agency of next offseason does come around. So he's going to have a chance to get paid and basically pick the destination that he wants to go to. Now, for me personally, I still see I saw some disconnect this year between Bo, the front office, and just the team in general. Like, he did not look like he was a part of what they were doing this year at any point of the season, despite him being on the field for however many games it was, for 80 games. So he was still there for about half the season, and you figure that he is going to come back before the end of the year as well, just to kind of get back in the good graces and figure out a way to get going again heading into the off season. But yeah, at no point this year did he look like he wanted to be there, and maybe something was going on in his personal life. We're not privy to that kind of information. He kind of holds it close to his chest. So whatever was going on with Bichette, we just don't know what it was. But something was awry, and something just did not sit right with me watching him play and watching him conduct himself in the dugout. Like, it was different. It was a different Bo than we had seen in years past. And he's always been someone that has been a quiet guy who hasn't really showed much emotion, but not only did he not show emotion, it just looked lifeless. Like he wasn't there physically and mentally. And maybe he needed a reset. Maybe he needed this stint on the injured list to get right mentally, rethink some things over, and get back to the player that these stats are demonstrating right here, which is an 800 OPS pretty much every year with a 930 sprinkled in there in a small sample size. Like he's a very good player when he's healthy and when he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But this year was just anything but that. So you see, he's been one of the most consistent contact hitters in the game for his entire career. Actually, the AL hits leader for 2 seasons in a row, and probably would have been 3 had he not gotten injured in 2023. Sorry. So look, he's a good player. He's not my favorite player personally as a Blue Jays fan. I think there's leaves a lot to be desired, but he is solid, right? And it's hard to find shortstops in the prime of their careers that produce offensively the way that he does. And the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So do the Jays want to get this deal done? Can they keep him and Vladdy and then build a team around them as well? Because it's been those 2 guys for the past 5 years. They have been the ones tasked with taking this team to the next level, and they haven't been able to do that. So they've had their chances, and maybe the team around them just wasn't good enough. Maybe they're not able to be the focal points of this roster, and that's totally fine. But then that's got to dictate how much money you go out and give to them. Is Vladdy going to get $300 million if he can't be the focal point of your roster? Is Bo going to get a similar kind of deal if he's proven that he just can't be the leader on and off the field? So it's all these questions that you're heading into the offseason with if you're the Blue Jays front office, and they have some tough decisions to make. They do have 1 more year of these guys, but you don't want to lose them for nothing. So I think that would be the worst case scenario. And the best case scenario is just extend them both and then try to work something out from there. Try to acquire more talent. You have the money. You're ready to spend $700 million on Shohei. Why not keep this core together and add to it as opposed to making minor additions and hoping it changes overnight? But that'll wrap it up for this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. Thank you guys so much for making it this far. Really appreciate the support. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and give me your thoughts on the Bo Bichette situation. And do you think the Blue Jays should keep him? I err on the side of yes, if he wants to stay. But if he's just saying this just to save face, then I'd definitely explore a trade this winter if I'm the Blue Jays. But shout out to you guys. Shout out to Baseball Town as well, your one-stop shop for everything that you need baseball or softball related, whether it's bats, gloves, batting gloves, cleats. They got you covered. The best equipment at the most competitive prices. Check them out. 3 locations, 2 in Quebec, 1 in Ontario. Check them out today. And if you're not close to there, we ship worldwide. You get $10 off your first order. You get free shipping on everything over $99. So check them out today. You won't be sorry, and I'll see you tomorrow.